Hello, welcome to Pasco County Schools' second annual College and Career Fair. My name is Michelle Basu, and I'm very excited to be with you tonight. I am currently a school counselor at Hudson Academy in Pasco County Schools. This is my 24th year being a school counselor, and I believe about 18 of those years I've been a high school counselor. I had the privilege these last 8 years of working overseas. Back in 2014, my family and I moved to Tunisia in Africa, and I was a middle school and a high school counselor there for 4 years. And then the most recent 4 years, we were living in Ukraine. I worked at Fisher School International, and we just returned home to Florida this past June. While overseas, I gained a lot of knowledge helping students apply to universities around the world, and I'm very excited to share my information with you this evening. Why should your son or daughter attend a university overseas? I have thought of 6 reasons here that I wanted to share with you. The first reason is to experience a different culture. It's very different living in another world, environment, country. You learn so much more about the world when you live overseas as opposed to just reading about countries in a textbook. 2. The cost of a university can be much less expensive than attending a university in the United States. The university educational system is one of the most expensive educational systems in the world. 3. Many bachelor's degrees can be earned in 3 years without having earned any prior AP, IB, or dual enrollment credit. 4. You will become interconnected around the world. The networking possibilities are endless. I have many counselors that I know overseas that I stay in contact with quite frequently, and it's been all beneficial. 5, you will perfect your world language. You will learn a new language, and you'll expand your knowledge. I was quite surprised at how many middle school and high school students spoke fluent languages, usually about 3 or 4. It was very common that a middle school student aged 12, 11, 13 spoke 3 languages fluently at home and were learning a 4th. That's just something around the world that's a given, is that you speak more than one language, so I found that fascinating. So while living overseas, I did learn some French, and I learned some Tunisian, I learned some Ukrainian, and some Russian language. Not perfect, but I could communicate in restaurants, with my friends and coworkers, and in stores, whatnot. So I gathered a lot of language knowledge. 6, it is very safe to live overseas. I know it may not seem that way right now with what's going on. However, I always felt very safe overseas. This evening we will discuss 4 countries and how to approach applying to universities in those countries. First, we will talk about Canada. Then we will go into the Netherlands. We will talk about the UK and Spain. I know the application systems of many countries around the world, particularly the other 3 that many students applied to were Australia, Germany, and South Korea. So I have good knowledge of applying to these 7 countries around the world and other ones as well. So later on, if you would like to contact me, I'm going to leave my email address that you could send me an email with any more questions regarding any other country system. Okay, so Canada. I am a fan of attending university in Canada. It's right next door to America. It's extremely safe, and they have a lot of valuable resources at hand for university students. So the main points that you have to remember about applying to a school in Canada is the application process does not open until mid-October. You have to go into each university's website, and you have to figure out when their application date starts, but it's not until October. So the funny thing is, I'm pro-Canada, I love this country. However, their website, how you navigate the websites of their universities is quite tricky. I think it's just a different system than what we use here in America. So you may find yourself struggling around the websites to get to where you need to go. Don't give up. So start with one university, say McGill, and that's pretty much Canada's Ivy League universities, McGill University. Say start there and just fiddle around with it. Once you learn how to navigate a Canadian university website, then the next university you go to, you'll be able to master in 2 to 3 minutes tops. It's very fast. It's just that first going into the websites is a little tricky. Every student and family I've ever worked with have said the same thing. So I'm just putting that out there. So give it some time, take about 5 to 10 minutes on the first university, go through their website, and then it will become much easier. So you don't need to panic about applying to a Canadian university until mid-October, then you start the application process. To apply to a Canadian university is extremely easy. You can make a list of 5 Canadian universities and apply to all of them in a 3-hour Saturday afternoon. It's very quick and easy. There's no personal statement, no letter of recommendations required. You just basically go on and fill out their application and you submit your transcript. It's that easy. It's very simple. And you can apply as a full IB student or a non-IB student. If you're applying as a non-IB student, then they may want you to submit SAT scores. I know some universities are not requiring them as such right now with COVID. However, I always found that students who submitted their SAT scores received offers earlier and firm offers. So I still suggest to students to take the SAT, especially when you're applying to a university overseas, because that is a very good score that they can correlate with performance at their university. So the Canadian universities are a bit more expensive than other universities. They're about $19,000 and $23,000 a year. That is still less expensive than most universities in the United States. So I wanted to show a map of where the schools are in Canada because some students are not very aware of the location of the schools. As you can see, this is a map of Canada, and most of the universities that the students I have spoken with are interested in are in the southern area of Canada. So like University of British Columbia is far over to the left, and then we have McGill, which is straight pretty much right near New York. So you can just look at this map and you can find some different universities that you may be interested in pursuing further information about. Here's a lovely picture of McGill University that I was mentioning earlier. This is pretty much the Ivy League school in Canada. It's just gorgeous. Canada is just breathtakingly beautiful. So that's another reason why you may want to consider applying to a school in Canada. One fascinating fact about applying to universities overseas is students overseas do not apply to as many schools as students in the United States. For instance, if you're going to apply to an Ontario university, you can only apply to 3 courses at any one school. I must say, once you start diving into applying to universities, they use a little bit different terminology, so let me just take a moment. So I may say courses, and that equals majors, so that's the same thing. So when I mention course, I'm actually meaning major. So in Canada, a major is called a course. And they limit how many courses at one school you can apply to. So Canadian universities may appear a little more similar to universities in the United States for master's programs or doctoral programs, wherein you have to specify your course of study when you apply at your bachelor's program, because they do have more rigorous requirements to get into a program. One of the great features of the United States universities is our liberal arts approach. Universities around the world have a more narrowed focus. You go into dentistry right away. You go into psychology right away. You don't have those first 2 years to explore. So that can be a really great thing if you already know what you want to study. Because like I said, you could get your degree done in 3 years without having had any previous work done, just coming right out of high school. So I think that's a really nice feature. And once you get in, if you do change your course of study, you can apply for the next year and change your course, but you will have to put in a different application. So in this presentation, all these red, the Ontario University application, University of Toronto, everything in red is a hot link. I did check all these links as of March 1st, so they all should work, and you could go here and it will take you directly to that university's website. and how to apply. I do want to point out, because I do know some schools in Pasco County offer French. So if your son or daughter is pretty fluent in French, if they attend the University of Ottawa, they have a partial exemption of tuition fees if your son or daughter takes a course, some courses in French and some courses in English, and that is because they want to preserve the French language in that area of Canada. The Netherlands. I absolutely love the university system in the Netherlands. I think they have a great approach, very unique, and quite individualized. The basic points are there are two different types of university systems in the Netherlands. The first type is research-based. The second type is applied sciences-based. Research most matches the university system in the United States. However, you can earn your Bachelor of Arts degree in 3 years. The applied sciences approach is a 4-year-long university system. However, they sandwich in 1 year of direct work experience, and most of the work experiences are with direct government-funded studies for their country. So you're actually doing work for the country of the Netherlands, and you gain work experience and networking skills, and most likely, most students are hired after they finish their 4 years of bachelor work for the company or program that they had done their work study experience for. The last different type of university system they have is in the research area. Those universities are called university colleges, and they are the liberal arts programs in the Netherlands. They very much match the United States. They are 4-year-long programs. However, they fall into the research area because they do not have that work experience sandwiched in the 4 years. With university colleges, you do not have to declare a major, and most universities you can create your own major or course of study while you are there. The interesting fact about universities in the Netherlands is that students usually only apply to 1 or 2 schools. It's not like the United States where students are applying to 5 to 10 schools. Some students are even applying to more than 10 schools. In the Netherlands, most students apply to 4 or less schools. The main approaches for the Netherlands is that you have to be a full IB diploma student because they want worldly students, or you've had to have taken 3 AP classes with scores above a 4 and a GPA above a 3.0. Also, you can take the SAT and submit those scores as well. If you're interested in the Netherlands, please talk with me if you're not a full IB student, because I have connections over there with university counselors and I can help guide you. You can only apply to 4 study programs in the Netherlands system, and they have numerous fixes programs. Basically, these are selective programs because they are difficult, right? They're more challenging: medicine, veterinary, business, and dentistry. However, they're named numerous fixes because they only allow a certain number of students in the program. It's not so much that they're the more difficult, challenging programs, is that each university may only allow 10 medical students in 1 year, maybe 15 veterinary students. And this can extend. They can also have psychology 1 year when I was overseas. Was a numerous fix for many universities. What they like to do is they like to sort of control, or they see what area of need their country has, and so they limit or expand the openings into the university system. That's pretty much what the number is. And it goes by a first come, first served basis. So in the numerous fixed program, say they're taking 20 students, you're the 21st applicant, and say all first 20 students meet all the requirements, well, they're going to get in. It's a black and white system. If you meet the requirement, you get in. If you're number 21 and you meet all the requirements, and say one of those 20 students decline the program, then they will accept you in, right? And then they just go down the list like that. It's basically a black and white system where if you meet the requirements, you're in. However, when you apply is very, very important because it is a first come, first served type program. So if you procrastinate and do not send off your application, or if you send it off more near the deadline date, you're more apt not to get in. And the deadline for numerous fixes programs is January 15th. So what I always did for my students overseas when they were applying to these programs is I made their deadline winter break. That way I knew they were getting in ahead of time and they wouldn't be procrastinating, and they would be more apt to get their application accepted. They put a standard that you can only apply to 2 numerous fixed programs, and then only one of them can be medicine, veterinary, or dentistry study. The main point to emphasize for applying to schools in the Netherlands is your math scores. If you're an IB student, they want you to have Math AA, Analysis and Approaches at the SL level, or Math AA at the HL level. Math AA, SL, or HL is required for entry into business, economics, medicine, science, and engineering programs. As math applications and interpretations become more familiar to universities, I'm sure we'll see a little change in that, because I know the math applications and interpretations at the HL level does offer a lot of calculus points for math in there. So I do think in the next year or so we may see a change in that. But for right now, the Netherlands really does emphasize Math AA at the SL or HL level, and usually a score above a 4 on the IB exam. Because they have the math requirement in the most difficult math category, math placement tests are commonplace. I've had many students take the math placement test to get into schools in the Netherlands, because quite frankly, Math AA is very difficult. With that said, you can take an AP math course and help get your place into the university, and also the SAT exam. Cost for attending schools in the Netherlands is approximately $10,000, and if you have an EU citizenship, the price goes down to approximately $2,500. So it's really affordable. The other thing I wanted to mention about studying at the universities in the Netherlands is that they have study groups. So all the classes, the maximum amount of students are probably about 40 or 50 into their larger classes. They don't have the large auditorium type classes that they do in the United States. Classes are usually maxed at around 40 and 50. But within that, they break the students down into groups of 10, and once or twice a week you will meet with your study group, and they usually have one student in the class for each group designated as the leader, and you work on projects together. The Netherlands is very much, their university system is based on group work, collaboration, and working together. And the government usually does give projects to their university students to work on. So you're working on real-world applications while you're going to school in the Netherlands. I was really impressed with their group work approach. You do meet class time with your professors, but more often you will be meeting in your group, working together with your classmates on the assignments. So you're not working alone, you're working with a group. To apply for the universities in the Netherlands, you have to use these hot links here. You have to apply to StudyLink is how they pronounce it. And that's like the main registry for all the universities in the Netherlands. This is not the direct application to the university. This is to apply to the system in the Netherlands, the country. And they keep all your records here. So if you move and you misplace your transcript or your diploma, you go back to StudyLink and they have everything right there. It's their sort of like their storage bank of all the students who have attended schools in the Netherlands. Then I have a hot link here where you can research courses and programs in the Netherlands, and you type in the school or the course that you're interested in, and it will tell you all the programs. What's really great about the Netherlands is most of their courses are taught in English. You can also take them, speaking their language, Dutch, but most of the schools are in English, and everyone there is bilingual. So going to the Netherlands is extremely easy. You do not have to worry about any language barriers or issues. The only main difficulty that I see with attending a university in the Netherlands is housing. What I always recommended to my students was finish applying to the universities in the Netherlands, take a week off, take a break because it's difficult to apply, and then immediately start applying for apartments. Not all the universities have dormitories available for their students. Therefore, if you cannot get a dorm, then you must apply for apartment housing in the country. I wanted to show you this map so you could see the differences in where the cities are around the Netherlands. It's not a large country. You can pretty much drive from one end to the other in a day or so. I visited University in Maastricht, and I'm not going to pronounce these names correctly. Utrecht, The Hague, Groningen, and that's definitely not how you pronounce it, but I never learned how to pronounce that one correctly. That is actually my favorite Netherlands university, is that one up there in the north. I like Maastricht a lot, and Tilburg is the university that most matches, in my opinion, universities in the United States, where it has that college feel. Everything's right there on campus. Like you're in like your little area here of your dorms and your classes all together. Okay, the next university system I would like to talk about is the United Kingdom. It is very simple and easy to apply to universities in the United Kingdom. It's a misnomer that you must be a full IB student to apply to universities in the UK. That is simply not true. If you are not a full IB student, the way around that is that you must also submit an SAT or ACT score with your high school transcript. So students who are full IB diploma students and students who are not full IB diploma students can apply to universities in the United Kingdom. Like Canada and the Netherlands, programs in the United Kingdom typically run for 3 years long in length. However, if you don't meet the requirements for the university, they do have foundation programs. And that's where it becomes more like the United States. It's that first year program where they get you ready for the more specific, strenuous program of study for your university. So if you don't meet the requirements, you may be offered a foundation program of study for the United Kingdom. You can also apply directly for foundation programs in the UK. So with that being said, you can be a full IB diploma student, or you can also submit SAT and ACT scores. I must say about this, the fascinating fact about IB students and submitting SAT scores is I found over the 8 years that every single student who submitted an SAT score received an unconditional acceptance, an unconditional offer. That means that you're accepted into the program no matter what. IB students are applying to universities in the UK using their predicted scores, right? So that's not their final IB score. So what an IB student will get, they will receive a conditional form, a conditional offer. And what that means is they will say, okay, in order to study medicine at Cambridge, you have to have an IB score of 41. If you want to study math at London School of Economics, you have to have a 40. Gosh, I'm picking tough universities. I apologize for that. But they will give you an offer. They will give you a full IB diploma number that you have to meet, or they'll give you specific test scores that you have to have. So you might have to have a 5 in math AAHL, or you may have to have a 6 in French AHL class. So they'll give you a condition offer that you will have to meet by July when they receive your IB final scores. So if you submit your SAT exam, that is your final score, and they most often than not, they will give you an unconditional offer, which is very exciting. So I had many students do that, and I had many students receive unconditional offers. The UK limits your applications to only 5 courses, and again, that's major, so courses of study. So you can do a mix and match. You can apply to 3 courses at one university. You can apply to the same course, so say psychology, at 5 different universities. So it's all about courses, right? Majors of study. You have 5 to choose from. So you can mix and match how you would like to do that. There's a hard deadline, October 15th, for students who want to study dentistry, medicine, and veterinary. And you can only apply to 4 of those courses. They limit the number of applicants into these programs each year, and you have to apply by October 15th. They will not accept anything. I think it's October 15th at 6 p.m. their time. I actually had a student not meet that time. I think it was because he was playing the whole time change program because we were in Ukraine at the time, and he missed it by like 5 minutes, but they closed it down. So he did not actually apply to the UK. It was quite sad. He procrastinated too long. So anyways, the October 15th deadline also extends into applying to Cambridge or Oxford. Many United States students think that you can apply to both programs. That's not the case. You have to pick one or the other. You can only send in one application to Cambridge or one application to Oxford by October 15th. Again, I think the system is more of a first come, first served program. So I always had my students apply in September, right? We don't want them applying in October because then they're seen as procrastinating, and then all the applicants are sending in their applications, and it becomes more and more rigorous, and it's more competitive to get your acceptance. If you are considering applying to Cambridge or Oxford, I highly, highly recommend and suggest that you talk to your high school counselor by at least April, latest May of your junior year, because you may have 2 or 3 entrance tests you have to take, and you will have an interview that you have to have, right? So all this has to be arranged, and it usually has to be arranged before summertime of your senior year. And this is all happening by then because the deadline is October 15th. So everything has to be done by that deadline. Like I said, it's a hard, fast rule. For all the other programs, all the other courses that you apply to, the deadline's in January, early January. However, as the high school counselor, I always made an internal deadline of winter break. So I always told students by December 15th, they had to have all of their applications in for the UK. I thought that really helped them receive their offers. And like I said, then for them, they would know by January, February. Sometimes if it was very competitive, students may, if they waited till December to send in their application, they may not hear about their offer until March. So, like I said, with the UK, the earlier you submit your application, the earlier you're going to receive your acceptance. The fee to apply to schools in the UK is very affordable. It's only £22 for one course. However, I always recommended students to apply to all 5 courses. Why not? It's one application that's going to go to all 5 programs. So you might as well apply to 5 different schools. That way you're guaranteed to get an offer. So then the maximum price is £26, which is probably, about 33, 34 US dollars. There's more things I can talk about with UK, but we're short in time here, so we're just going to keep moving on. The other main difference between applying to schools in the United Kingdom and the United States is the UK, like I said, for the Netherlands, is a black and white system. It's very limited. So every student who applies has one application for all 5 courses. The student has to write one personal statement, and it's called a personal statement. The statement is 4,000 characters. That means every letter, every dot, every space counts, and or 47 lines. So you can't go over 47 lines, and you have to fit in 4,000 characters. With that, one person, 1 or 2 people will write a letter of reference for you. Combined, they have to do 4,000 characters and 47 lines. So if you are applying to the UK, you have to work with your counselor beforehand because they will know how to set that reference up for you. And actually, a few times I've had 3 teachers put in a reference. But again, we have to fit those references into that 4,000 character, 47 line space. So it is challenging, and you have to give your counselor time to arrange how to do that. The main difference between a personal statement and writing your personal essay for a school in the United States is the personal statement is black and white. It's how you live and breathe that course. So if you want to study math at the London School of Business, you have to prove to that professor who's reading your statement how you live and breathe math. What you've read, what you've studied, what fascinates you about math. They do not want to know if you've been a swimmer since you were 2 years old. They do not want to know if you know how to play the piano. They do not want to know if you have 100 volunteer hours. They want to know why you want to study that course and why you want to study at those schools. So this is where it becomes challenging if you are going to apply to one school for, say, art and math, which could appear to be two totally different courses. So you have to craft your statement into both of those courses, because you have to prove to the art department that you want to apply to their art department and why you want to do so, and what you bring to that department, all the while why you want to apply to the math program. So it can be a little tricky. I've had it done. Students have been very successful writing these statements. And quite frankly, you're not writing like an English essay, right? Not the common 5-paragraph essay. You can quickly go from one paragraph writing about art to the very next paragraph going straight into why you want to study math. You don't have to worry about transitions because you only have a very limited amount of space. And the English writing system, they want this to be very brief. They want it to be very tightly written. So I would always tell my students, you may not want your English teacher to proofread your personal statement for the UK. You may want your math teacher to proofread it, or your science teacher, because it's more fact-based, right? It's not fiction. It's more fact. To apply to the UK, you have to submit your IB predicted grades. And like I said, it's a misnomer. Many people think you have to be an IB student to apply to the UK. That is not true. You can be a standard high school diploma student. The only difference is you have to also submit your SAT or ACT scores. What's fascinating about this is I found over the 8 years, every single student who submitted SAT or ACT score was accepted unconditionally to their universities. The United Kingdom will give you two acceptances. Unconditional, which means you're in, right, no matter what happens, so you'll get your acceptance letter, or conditional, which means they will accept you if you get a 6 in your AP Lit class. They'll accept you if you get the 5 in math, AAHL, right? They'll give you conditions that you must meet in order to go into that program. So it's very fascinating. So if you go the UK route, I highly suggest you enter in an SAT score, because that's your final score, right? Because as you're applying as an IB student, you're using predicted grades. So they're not your final grades, and they know that. So I was overseas during this whole COVID time with the question of the IB scores and the IB exams. I didn't see any change into how students were accepted or not. I know some university counselors at high schools did see some differences. The one thing I did do is we had our students take the SAT exam. We were able to offer it at our school, and it helped them get their offers, and again, unconditional. The other point with the UK programs is apply early. So many students will wait, but I always discourage that. They say it's not a first come, first served system. However, in my 8 years experience of being overseas, the students who applied in August and September, they would receive their offers within a week. So I commonly had students in October, November, December with their offers of acceptance, and they knew exactly what they had to do if they got a conditional offer. The fastest turnaround time I had was last year. It was 2 hours. It was crazy. The student came into my office and he submitted his application to UCAS first period before classes started. Before lunch, he had 2 offers. It was crazy. He was a fantastic student, and he sent in, he applied in September. So he applied really, really early, and he, like I said, he received his offers within about 2 or 3 hours of time. So right here is the hot link. It's called UCAS. It's a very easy application system. You could do this over a weekend, right? So you just practice writing your personal statement, have someone you know close by, maybe your science teacher, like I said, proofread your personal statement, you upload it, you pay your fee, and then your high school counselor sends off your application with the reference included, and then you wait for your offer. Pretty simple, standard application. I want to show a picture of a university. This is University College London, very prestigious university in the UK. And I wanted to point out again, like the Netherlands, most universities do not have housing. However, it's not as difficult as in the Netherlands to get housing in the UK. It's not as challenging. It's pretty easy and doable. I wanted to share some hot links for some universities in the UK, and I have a picture here of Imperial College London. There's University College London, King's College London, Edinburgh, and the University of Manchester. If you're worried about your son or daughter going overseas to the UK and you want to make sure that their university is selective, is prestigious, then you'd want to go to one of these 24 leading UK universities called the Russell Group. They're the best universities in the UK. They lead the world with research and teaching and learning experience. And right here, the Russell Group in red is the hot link that will take you to a list of those 24 universities. The final country that I wanted to talk about regarding your son or daughter wanting to apply to is Spain. If you haven't visited Spain, I highly encourage you to visit there. It's a fabulous country. Much like Florida, a lot of sunshine. You're surrounded by beaches. It's just fabulous. You don't have to worry like the UK and the Netherlands maybe about seasonal affective disorder because there's plenty of sunshine there and a very affluent lifestyle. Now for the universities, you will have to be careful in making sure that they're the English-speaking universities, but you can go on their website and it's very easy to tell. You just put in English and they'll tell you which programs are taught in English. No difficulty there. Their websites are very easy to maneuver through. For the Spanish universities, you have to be a full IB student of a predicted score of 30 points or higher, so pretty reasonable score, or you have to obtain some AP courses and have a GPA of 3.0. And that's unweighted, right? You can also obviously clarify that you have a weighted GPA of higher or of a 3.0 there, and maybe your counselor might have to write something in there. Most of the universities will ask you to write a personal statement. It's probably like a 3-paragraph essay. It's not strict and standard like the UK system. They don't have any word count or character count or line count. You just have to write a personal statement. So I always recommend to my students to do a 3 to 4 paragraph essay, just kind of sum up what their experiences were in the past, what they bring to the program, and why they want to go to that school. So their personal statement is more like an essay like the United States, right? They want to know a little bit more about you as a person. That's why I put down here a holistic review that matches more of like the United States. They may want to interview you because they are trying to find out if you're a great match for their school, just like we do here in the United States. Because they're accepting students around the world, you may have to take a placement test. Again, usually these placement tests are regarding math because math is taught differently around the world, and they want to make sure that the program that you're going into, you have the math ability that matches that program. Tuition varies from institution to institution. It ranges, like I said, $600 here to about $2,000 for a public school. Most of the time students live in homestays, which is someone's house, right? Sort of like an Airbnb type setting. You are renting out a room or two from someone's house and you're staying there. And some universities do have dorms available for their students. Lately, the two most popular universities where students of mine attended are IE University up here on top and EU University here down below. You can see how pretty those campuses are. I must say the university counselors there, the recruiters who visited our school, very nice and kind. They check up on the students. I have contacts at both of these schools, so if you're interested, you can let me know. And here's some university hot links that you may be interested. Like you see here, Suffolk University, St. Louis. There are many American universities overseas in different countries. So that's another thing you might want to think about is like New York University. Look at an American university and see if they have a campus overseas. And usually what you could do is attend the American University here in the States, and then you can have a year abroad overseas, or sometimes you can just apply to the American University overseas that way. So a lot of options there. And if you go that route, then you don't have to worry about your university being accepted back in the United States. And I just want to say that these countries that I did mention today, that should not be a worry for you. Your study program should be accredited in the United States and any of those countries that you may want to live and work at after you graduate. So how to stand out? You might be thinking, wow, there are millions and millions of students around the world. How am I going to get into the University of Cambridge, right? So like I said earlier, one thing that struck me was how many languages students who live overseas speak, right? I said about 3 to 4. So if you only know English, you may want to start learning some different languages and show that you are making progress in that area. I think that would be the first thing that I would do, is become bilingual or trilingual in a language. And like if you can't become fluent in 3 by the time you go to university, definitely show that you are learning more languages. Take rigorous courses. Like I said, the one class that is the most sticking point is math. And I think that's because math around the world is taught differently in the different countries. And so they want to make sure that your math skills are of top quality. So definitely dive down deep in math class if that is the class that you struggle with the most. And overseas, I say that because business, economics, different programs, some students always thought, well, then I need to take business or economics at high school to get into that program at university. But really the difference is if you were in the higher math class, earning an A grade, or getting a 4 or 5 AP score or a 6, 7 IB score. The other difference, how to stand out, is to volunteer in worldly experiences. Become worldly, become knowledgeable in the world events that's going on, and somehow intertwine that into your application for the university. They definitely want students who have a world viewpoint and who are willing to contribute and make the world a better place. However, all the while, be yourself. I had a student who came to me once who was applying to Harvard, and one of the questions he was asked was, what's your favorite movie? And he came flying into my office trying to figure out what movie to put down. And I was like, Aftab, what are you talking about? Well, what is your favorite movie? And he laughed, and he's like, it's too embarrassing, Miss Basu, I cannot tell you. I said, please tell me, Aftab, what's your favorite movie? He's like, I just love Shrek. I just love that green man. He just cracks me up and is so funny. I go, well, then write about that. I mean, here's this Indian boy from New Delhi, right? And his favorite movie is Shrek, and he's applying to Harvard, and currently he was living in Tunisia. I'm like, this is awesome. This makes you unique. Long story short, he did not take my advice. He did not put down that movie. He put down some political science type movie that was popular that year, I think back in 2016. I can't remember, and long story short, he did not get into Harvard. He did get into McGill, and later on he did graduate from Cambridge University, so all ended up well for him. However, he really wanted to go to Harvard, so definitely be yourself in all of your applications. Make yourself shine, you are special, and communicate that with the universities. So thank you in participating in my presentation this evening. So many more things I could say. This is a really short and condensed version of universities overseas. I just wanted to add in some other little points about going to school overseas. In Canada, you can become a permanent resident in 3 years. And you can become a citizen in 2 more years, right? So students who would go there would often obtain citizenship in Canada. In the Netherlands, after you graduate, you can stay 1 year, and then it takes about 3 to 5 if you wanted to obtain some citizenship and end up living there. The UK, it's 2 years after you graduate, and in Spain, 1 year. So when you go to these countries, you're not forced to leave right away. Now that's different than the United States, because the students overseas who come to the US, they have to leave quite quickly. The US doesn't give them that leeway. But these other countries do give you time, so if you've fallen in love with that country, you can stay a little longer. You can apply for work visas and permits, and you can stay longer. And many of the countries, you can become a citizen. The other countries where I help students gain acceptances is Australia. That can be a bit tough, and one of the things that's tough about it is their time frame. Obviously, it's different. Their school year does not follow the same time frame as other universities. Um, it's not very difficult. It's more like applying to United States schools, just a little more paperwork. I've also helped students apply to schools in South Korea. That can be challenging. So if you're a Korean student, there are rules and regulations regarding how long you've been out of the country and what you have to do to apply into the different programs. And yes, there are very strict SAT score requirements for that. I can work with you on that. In Germany, so you may be aware that you can attend school in Germany for free, which is fabulous. However, gaining admission to a university in Germany is extremely difficult. You do have to prove yourself to be conversationally fluent in German, so you do have to pass a test for that. And you've had to have taken some very specific courses to get into German universities. And again, I say this, but they have English speaking programs, so it is doable. Every year that I was overseas, I had 1 or 2 students gain admission into a German university, and they did not have to pay for their schooling, because like I said, they do offer it for free. However, you have to speak German, but you can attend their English programs there. I think that's about it. I didn't put anything in here about financial aid. There is financial aid for overseas schools. I will attach a slide after this with some hot links for financial aid. I didn't go into the full process because there's a lot of work that goes into applying for universities. I do have to say, though, that applying to schools in the United States is a lot more work, much more difficult than applying to any of these countries' universities around the world. And I'm really true and honest when I say that you can apply to some of these countries' universities in a weekend, in a 3 to 5 hour range. You sit down and you work really hard, and you can finish that up, and it's no problem, and you're going to get accepted. I'd say so. I always felt my heart went out to those students who are applying to 8 or more universities in the United States, because it takes a lot of work with all the essays and questions that you have to fill out. Anyways, I wanted to mention that there are many opportunities around the world, and if you're interested in exploring some of these opportunities, please reach out to me. My email is listed here on this last slide. I'd be more than welcome to help you. All right, have a great evening. Thank you very much.